Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Falling Water. Another great episode. Lot of some very interesting things went down, so I want to kind of break everything down. First of all, basically everyone is kind of screwed over in this particular episode, whether it be Burton, whether it be Tess or Taka. Like, there's messed up stuff. I mean, Tess and Taka kind of go hand in hand because of the whole Sabine situation. It's kind of an interesting thing about the whole Sabine situation that kind of makes me think about this whole grand plot with the Shadow Man. It makes me think that the Shadow Man uses what you already feel and to some level, and he amplifies it. You know, it's based around your own fears and stuff like that, but just your own feelings, because it's like Sam's issues with his wife probably stem from when maybe she treated their children very badly, and he felt to a certain degree the way he felt about, like, oh, I need to stop her, but the Shadow Man just amplified it, or amplified it into a fear. Maybe he amplifies the fear within you. I mean, more so than anything, that kind of makes sense. But it's like he scares you and he ties that into what you already feel. Like in Sabine's case, she already didn't like Taka's mom just because of who Taka's mom was. But in this case, he amplified it by making Taka's mom be like, oh yeah, you're this and you're that. You're just trying to take my son away from me. You're just, you're this and that, saying these horrible things, making her seem more like a monster, to amplify that fear, but also mixing in the anger she already felt, that, and because that was another added fear to it. Is because it's like, for Sabine, it's like, what if that really was me? Even if someone else interfered, that's how I really felt. Like, I really didn't like her, which she made it perfectly clear. Hence why Alex is kind of like, it kind of seems like Sabine just kind of snapped because she didn't like your mom, which is kind of the whole point and everything. So it seems like there is a method to how the Shadow Man works in this whole situation, because it's kind of interesting. I don't think I brought it up before, but it's especially, and it's kind of interesting because they're giving him this whole motif in this season, because no one had anything like this in season 1. But it seems like his whole thing is kind of like almost like a Nightmare on Elm Street. He's almost like a Freddy Krueger type of thing. Like, he's like something out of like a horror movie, which is kind of crazy. I am curious about the whole pig thing, what that's about. I guess maybe it's supposed to represent the fact is, to him, people are pigs to the slaughter to him, because later on they end up seeing all those different people on hooks. It looks like it's all the people who are his victims in some shape or form. Obviously, he doesn't directly kill these people. He manipulates other people to kill them. And it is, in fact, a guy, because it's not like this is some... I mean, there's some stuff in season 1 that kind of hinted that there might be like monsters, but then again, it's just, their dreams that are opened up to interpretation. Because once again, there's the thing at the end that's like swirling around. To me, like back in season 1, I kept thinking that was always like Bill, especially later on with what he does, like how his powers work. Well, his assistant kind of worked in a similar way with her abilities in the dream world. But then again, it's also, well, maybe this thing is the Shadow Man is that same person from season 1. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's something we're not really going to get back into. Maybe that's just kind of like a, like I said, it's dream stuff, so it's all up to interpretation. But like, the fact of the matter is, the Shadow Man is a flesh and blood. I've so far kept saying like, it's got to be Bill, but it seems like, I don't know, with enough time it kind of makes me feel like it isn't Bill, because I feel like Bill wouldn't go through the means that he's been going through. But what's kind of an interesting thing is that it seems like the moment he sees you is when he comes after you, because it's like, but the thing is, I guess it seems like his power kind of works like an echolocation, or not necessarily echolocation, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Like, it pinpoints. Like, once he gets a good sense of you, he's able to track you. Which made me think, is that why he went after Kumiko first? I mean, to be fair, Kumiko exposed him to Taka, but the fact is, he saw Taka originally, but maybe he didn't see Taka long enough for him to get a pinpoint accuracy. Because the thing is, he knew, because that says a lot too, because it's like, he knew exactly where to go to track down Kumiko. He knew to go to Taka's place to find him, and knew who to use to do it. Like, like I said, already knowing how she already felt about Kumiko, he knew he could use Sabine to do this. I mean, because the question is like, why not Taka? Is it just because Taka is a powerful dreamer and his abilities don't work on powerful dreamers? I mean, because the fact of the matter is, like, cause I guess also because of Kumiko's condition, she wouldn't have been able to do anything to herself. So I'm curious about, is that what that is about? Because it seemed like in this episode, it's like he has to look at you for an extended period of time before he kind of locks onto your signature and he's able to track you down. Because, because earlier in the episode when Burton and James were looking for him. He saw James, but I guess he didn't get a good enough look. But this time when all three of them plus James was there, he locked onto him then, so it just kind of makes my mind wander. But I kind of trailed off heavily, but obviously like they're all dealing with that. Like I said, Taka and Tess are dealing with that. Well, also Tess is also dealing with the whole Jeremy situation, which came up in the episode too because he tracked him down and she knocked him over the head again. That's gotta suck. Because not only she did it once, she did it twice. Last time it was something made of glass. This time it was like something made of like stone. And she hit him on in the upper part of his chest a little bit too. It's like, stay away from my son. They also threw out the question like, well, who does he work for? Essentially like, oh, here's these different groups. Could he work for the firm? I don't think so. Could he work for someone else? So it's still up in the air who exactly he works with. But then there's also a Burton situation, because Burton's kind of getting screwed over because it's like, oh yeah, now the FBI investigated him. It's like, wait, what are you doing? I gave you the firm and now you're turning it on me because the firm is kind of making it seem like, no, Burton was a part of all of this. It's kind of like shifting the blame. I guess because if they take out Burton, they also weaken the FBI's case against him, because I would assume at that point in the time, it'd almost be a situation of like, well, using evidence from the poison, the evidence will be fruit from the poisonous tree, I guess, because I guess they want to try to shift everything and make it look more like Burton's fault. So even if they kind of take a hit from this situation, it's enough that they could probably like sweep under the rug to make it okay. At least that's how I'm looking at it, but we'll just have to wait and see about the situation. And also like the FBI agent that he was working with, Diane, turns out they found her dead. It looks like a suicide, but we know that's not the case, so that sucks. Was the one ally Burton really had, because the entire other, she's the only one who was like, not like, okay, there's something more to this, because like the FBI wanted to move along with the whole charges against the firm, but in particular like any like tax and money laundering type of stuff, like the more lesser offenses to what the other horrible stuff they've done with the whole like trading, trafficking people and selling people type of situation. So what that's all about, like we still don't know the full extent of their power and like who's got their backing and stuff like that, because we got a little more of a look at Woody's whole situation. It was kind of one of the thoughts I had last episode. It's like Woody's not trying to get closer to her just for like to help her. Like I figured it was all, I kind of figured it was more likely that it's because him and Bennett are trying to destroy her so that they can help the other dude win, and the new guy that's trying to take over the whole mayorship, which is like, we haven't even actually met him in the show yet, so I'm kind of interested about that. But even Woody was kind of like, oh, why are you trying to take her down? You should actually work together. And she was like, do you actually care about this lady? He's like, no, I'm just doing my job, which is, once again, I made the comparison to the dude from the firm, Halls. Like I made a reference to his wife last episode. Did not know how true it was about that, because they ended up having a sex dream because they're having sex in her office, and then like all her like staff is there, and she's like, oh my god, and he's like, oh, you're on some level you're kind of a bit of an exhibitionist because you kind of wanted this. They're having sex in her in her office. Her daughter pops in and everything, and it seems like there's a complicated situation there, because she's asking like, oh, is this Greg, talking about Woody? It's like, no, this isn't. And it's like, oh, are you going to tell dad about another unexpected pregnancy? And so it's like, wait, what? So the fact is that she's their only daughter. I can only assume, well, not unless she was referencing herself, but, this is like her inner thoughts and everything. So this isn't necessarily like her herself saying that. Maybe, or maybe, because that also begs the question too, is like, is that actually her daughter, or is that her, like the mayor's manifestation of her daughter? I don't think that ever comes up in the show. That's never, like, if someone specific is in your dream, that means that they've been pulled into your dream. So that means probably all the people that she's dreaming of and her staff, they're her staff. Because the whole idea behind Topeka is like connected dreams and everything. So maybe she kind of pulled them into her dreams or something. Or maybe they're dreaming about the same thing and just the world around kind of warps to fit that narrative. So that most likely was her daughter. So, because like I didn't even think about it until now. It's like, because every time there's a person in your dream, it's like that actual person. It's not like a manifestation that your subconscious created. Like that's legitimately her daughter. So maybe that's just what her daughter was subconsciously thinking that just kind of came out. So either she was referencing herself, or the fact is that Amira has like an illegitimate child out there that she gave up for adoption, and kind of create scandal and stuff like that. But it seems like Woody doesn't want to do it because he he didn't actually tell Bennett immediately. He was like, oh, I got to look into it, confirm it, which is like, okay, there's that side of you being like, well, yeah, he's got to make sure it's right so he can use it. But you see a look on his face like he doesn't want to do it because he actually kind of likes her. Because let's not forget the last time he was in this particular situation, like I referenced before, that was more recreational. It wasn't for the job. We saw how that happened. And that's kind of the downside of what Woody does. His way of infiltrating kind of leaves you a little open, especially in his case, because he actually kind of likes the mayor and everything, which the mayor kind of likes him too. So that's definitely going to be an interesting thing going forward, especially with Bennett, especially because it's kind of like, you can definitely tell this is the type of situation you screw up, you get to stay around. It's like, no, you screw up too much, it's all going to come back to bite you in the ass in some shape or form. Hence why, Jones killed himself last season and everything with the whole situation, because most likely so that his family wouldn't be 100% dragged in, I don't know, trying because he knew it was probably going to come in some shape or form, and he knew it'd be a lot worse if he stuck around. I don't know. I think that's just something you do have to keep in the back of your mind. So Woody probably will have to do the job, or something worse might happen to him. So I'm also interested in this psychologist that, or rather therapist or psychologist, whatever the case may be, that Alex wants Taka to see. Her name is not her, doc, is Dr. Victor's. I don't think they said it was a guy or a girl, but Dr. Vickers, and which I'm interested in that because like, what that means, because Taka sounds a little crazy with his theories and stuff like that, which Alex is like, no, I know you're not crazy. I know she's just kind of playing along because it's like, well, you're in shock, your girlfriend killed your mom and everything, so she's trying to be helpful, but she does recognize, like, okay, she helped Taka look into things a little bit, and it's like, okay, so there's something here. Not to the extent that you're saying it, but things are a little suspicious. These are stolen plates, and these stolen plates happen to be right out in front of your place, so there is something to it, so... Which is kind of interesting, like I brought up before, like the fact is, she was super against Taka before, being like, well, she made an exception for Taka, and then she was like, well, the fact of the matter is you're coming up with all these wild and crazy theories. It's like, how do I, people told me not to really partner up with you, but I said, no, Taka's a good cop, so it seems like she is kind of going on the other end of things, because it is, she seems more willing to kind of let a lot of his craziness go and go, all right, I'll look into something. Also, side note, I have to look it up again because it's going to bother me. I'll leave it in the comments. But I was looking at something last week when I was looking at thumbnails, and I saw the actress who plays her in something else. I was like, that's why I feel like I recognize her, but I don't remember what it was now, and it's going to bother the crap out of me. So I'm going to leave it in the comments down below, like what it was that I ended up remembering. But it's something that's super fresh in my mind, but I just can't remember what it was exactly, and it's going to bother the crap out of me. I was thinking that the entire time I was seeing her in episodes, like, I know you from something. I just don't remember what it was I know you from. Another interesting thing too in this episode was like that train that they went to. Well, first time when they went to the train, there was all those people there on the hooks and everything. But this time when all three of them went later on with James, it was empty. And then Bert was like, I don't know why, but I have this feeling that it's us. And then immediately my brain goes, is this supposed to be like their hub world? Is this going to be like, how Taka's mom had that machine, Kumiko's machine, which allowed her to see all into those different dreams of Tess's? What if they kind of created a safe haven, a base of sorts in Topeka, and that's what that is, and that train will lead them to different dreams, in particular while they're trying to chase the Shadow Man, which, if it being on a train, could be a good thing, because it could be representing the fact is that their quote-unquote their base, their starting point, will constantly change, because the fact is that James and Tess were there earlier in the episode at the beginning when they were dreaming, but now it's like, well, all of them are there now too, so I'm curious, like, why Burton feels like it was a case of like all of them made that. Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess, because it's like, I guess it's more of a clearer construction, considering the fact is there's no one there this time, whereas like there were other people the last time, like Tess and James were there, So I don't know. That was something I immediately caught and thought was that incredible. Because like their most like hub world was Marcello's. That was kind of like their hub world last season, to a certain degree. So also there's something I was looking through my notes, and I also wanted to include something else I thought was kind of interesting, was the fact is that earlier when like the whole situation of like Taka brought up the whole like, oh man, this might have something to do with the whole Sam case, and Tess started looking into it, Burton was kind of like, you shouldn't do that because you might be giving you and her false hope, which is kind of interesting because like, holy crap, look at you being like a super pessimist, like Burton. But at the same time, it's like, well, I understand where it's coming from, because you understand that this is a very, very bad situation for both Taka and Tess, and you don't want them to get their hopes up, just because even them and Sabine's hopes up, because then it can end up, destroying them in the long run or something like that. But then I don't know if this is the case, but part of me wonders, does this have to do with Olivia? Because he had such high hopes and everything. He believed so hard in Olivia and everything. And it turns out like everything about them was a lie. She was paid for it and everything. So he was a job and everything. So I'm wondering, did that make him a little more pessimistic? So it made him a little bit more on guard with situations like that, where it's like, don't be so full-heartedly into believing this. Like, don't be so quick to believe this. To believe yourself about certain things, because you can't be trusted. Because you want something to be true doesn't mean that it automatically is true. So I'm wondering, is that where he's stemming from? Especially because he met up with Olivia last episode and everything played out the way it did. Even though they're kind of on good terms, I'm sure it still resonates in the back of his head. Like, well, it's all a lie. Like, I went through so much to track her down and everything, so. How would this help in the long run? Because how do you prove Sam or Sabine's innocence in this situation? Because they still did what they did, even if they were being controlled or manipulated with this whole dream world situation. It's not like you have a clear-cut way of proving that, so how will you help them in the long run? It's still the big question. And there's also this interesting thing too, where it's it seems like James might have reservations about believing Tess is his mom, because even he was kind of oh, why did mom drag us all away? And he was and Bert's kind of well, your mom's trying to protect you. It's my mom kind of did a similar thing and everything. And he's she is my real mom, right? And he's yeah, of course she is, because only your real mom would go through all she went through to get you back and everything. But the fact is that he was questioning whether she was his real mom or not, was kind of interesting. I mean, to be fair, the fact is he doesn't actually know her. It's not something we've really brought up too much in the show so far, but she's still kind of a stranger to him, because he grew up not knowing her, so it's she's just kind of popped into his life because of everything that went down in season 1. Sure, but I wonder, the fact is that they're setting that up. Is that what that's supposed to lead to, or what? Could that be something that kind of gets used against James later on? Could that be his fear that Tess isn't his mom, and that the fact is that he'll be kind of left alone and just kind of chased after forever? Makes you wonder about that stuff. Also makes you wonder what other fears are going to be used against the others. I guess Tess's fears might have something to do with James. Taka stuff with his mom and Sabine will probably be at the top of his list, and Burton, some stuff from his military background or his family situation, because we learned a little bit about it, his dad died when he was young, and he mainly had his mom in his life, so, which even then he went to live with her parents, so, that whole situation, so. But it is cool because we're starting this season. I mean, this is only episode 3, and the team is no, Tess is I could leave, but the fact of the matter is we're in this together. Because until that guy's taken care of, until we stop the Shadow Man, he's seen all of our faces now, including James, so he'll be able to track us down no matter what. So there's no running from this situation. So we'll have to work together to stop him. It's the team is back together under the same roof, going to take this guy down. So that's pretty neat. They have the squad together immediately. So I'm curious to see what this all means going forward, especially with all 3 of them working together to try and track this guy down. What's going to happen in the next episode. Overall, this was a great episode, but I'm very interested to see what goes on in the next episode as well. See what other interesting things they got waiting for us over the course of this season. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.